Hi, it's Megan. With the escalation of ISIS threats in Baghdad, what should the U.S. do? Watch our Iraq panel with Breitbart's Joel Pollak.
When do you think interventionism, Joel, I'll start with you, is necessary?
I think it's necessary when it affects your fundamental national interest and when you actually have the ability to carry out a strategic goal. So that doesn't mean every humanitarian crisis requires intervention, but it does mean that when you can do something positive and it aligns with your strategic goals, for example, if it supports your war on terror or if it counteracts an enemy or helps an ally, then I think that's the time to intervene.
Megan, do you agree with that?
I do agree with that. I think, I actually think if there's a humanitarian crisis, like in terms of Bosnia, that's a good example too, but I totally agree with you.
Ahmed, what about you, man?
Well, I think it's interesting to think about, the shifting kind of alliances that we see because, we talk about humanitarian reasons or to promote democracy or if it even, as you said, serves your strategic goals. But I think in the Arab world in particular, we're talking about Iraq, obviously. I mean, not only do we need to look at when we have intervened and how it's gone horribly wrong, for example, Iraq, the occupation, a decade of essentially destroying not only the country, but I think the social fabric and exacerbating some of the sectarian tensions, but more importantly, looking at where you haven't intervened and why you haven't intervened. I think that's where a lot of the criticism comes. For example, in Bahrain, in places like Saudi Arabia, which are, of course, close allies to the United States, but a lot of Arabs and I think anti-American sentiment and Muslims is born out of this notion that the U.S. only intervenes when it serves their national interests, even though they proclaim that it's on humanitarian grounds.
Joel, you want to quickly respond to that? Because I want to bring up something that you wrote, actually.
Sure, I don't think anything that the U.S. and U.S. allies did in Iraq is remotely as disruptive as what Saddam Hussein did. I mean, especially to talk about entire civilizations like the Marsh Arabs being wiped out in Iraq and things like that. I do think that's correct criticism of interventionism in general, that why do you intervene in some cases and not others? But I think it's also important to remember that not intervening is also a choice that has consequences. And so deciding not to intervene can also mean prolonging something very bad that might be counteracted if you do intervene.
Should the U.S. intervene? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more Take Part Live.